I knew you were going to say this because I hate that scene. That actually was that upset me more than anything when I was like 9 years old. I was like, don't do this. Oh, you're still doing it. Oh, we're lingering on this shot. And his face, like a moronic fascination. It's like, I can't.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
Welcome to One Fucking Hour. I am Evan Husney. We got to my left here, I'm joined by Tom. What's going on, Tom Fitzgerald?
Hi, guys. Greetings from underlit land over here.
I know.
My cheap light broke, so I'm going to be a little looking like there's a light in the back of a car that's lighting me.
Yeah, you look like
annoying orange.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like you're like on emergency override mode or something.
Right.
Happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Red alert over here.
Switch to auxiliary power.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm on auxiliary
power.
power.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Self-destruct.
T-minus 59 minutes. So.
All right. We also got over to my right, we got Marcus Herring. What's going on, Marcus? Welcome back.
What's up? I'm noticing I'm a little lit from underneath now. I'm going for that kind of like spooky vibes,
Good.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Halloween leftovers.
And you're not in the sauna anymore, or wherever you were before.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they let me out. They let me out.
Cool.
Well, this is
1 hour a week.
Well, I just wanted to. I just wanted to say thanks everybody for checking out our last episode, which was our top 10 obscure / deep cut horror film recommendations. That was a lot of fun. We got a lot of amazing feedback on that. I think people want to see us do more top 10 lists. I had a blast. I thought it was fun, and so I think we'll definitely do more of those in the future. But guys, I'm really excited that we are stepping outside of the horror genre, even though there's some horrific elements in tonight's movie. But
well, sure, but it feels like I've lost complete track of the pre-horror, because it feels like we did horror before that, like we did Pin and stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm forgetting,
Maniac.
yeah, and I'm forgetting like
I know my neck beard started to grow in for reals. You know, we did so many horror movies.
Yeah. So it's nice to step out of that genre and do something a little different, getting back to our roots.
I was just going to say, because our roots being the first episode we did was Deliverance. And what I mean by that is like, we didn't have any plan for this show, but we wound up usually saying, let's just like hit up classics, you know, like these big films that a lot of people love and that we love and are enthusiastic about, but it's our take on them. So we would do like Deliverance and Superfly, Gems, so we're back to
gems and classics. Yes.
Yeah. So we're definitely hitting up a big title.
Yeah, we are returning to the AFI Top 100 list for tonight's movie.
TCM, we're TCM sponsored now, right?
We're going to try to do all 100.
Yeah.
TCM is Ben Mankiewicz is going to come on next week. We're going to do. We're going to do.
Peter Bogdanovich's Corpse will be on next week. Yeah, exactly. We either teeter between TCM or Tubi. I think we're somewhere in between. But here we go. Tonight's episode is episode 47 of the show. We're about to embark on 1 fucking hour on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Our first one title, guys, by the way. So very excited. Of course, this is the show where we talk about one movie for 1 fucking hour, and it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So let's, shall we start that clock, guys?
Is that 3? I'm not good at math.
That's 3 ones. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'm starting the clock. Bang. All right, there we go. Little bit of backstory. Not much is really required for this movie because it's so acclaimed, but just why the hell not? 1975's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is Milos Forman's second film in America, guys, and it is an adaptation of Ken Kesey's novel of the same name. And it is about... All right, To avoid going to prison, Randall McMurphy, a criminal played by Jack Nicholson, makes himself seem insane, so he is sent to serve his time in a mental institution instead. He mingles with the patients who, like him, are kept in line by the discipline of head Nurse Ratchet, portrayed by Louise Fletcher, also, guys, recent R.I.P. Another reason I think we are looking at this movie. Gradually, McMurphy stands up against the absurd prison-like rules and leads his fellow inmates with him in his rebellion, but he is punished by electroconvulsive therapy, and after the suicide of a young patient makes him revolt, and he undergoes a lobotomy after trying to strangle the nurse in one of cinema's darkest, craziest moments ever. So, guys, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I saw this movie. I think my dad showed me this movie. I think we rented it on VHS from Mr. Movies. Shout out to Mr. Movies in suburban Minnesota. Yeah. And it's one of the early formative cinematic moments I remember, like seeing a real movie, a movie that packed a huge punch. He showed me 2001. He showed me One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He showed me Little Big Man, another LOL.
Oh, wow. That's a dusty old boomer title. Wow.
It is. That is the most boomer film of all time.
That's
I think.
So deep cut. It kind of is, yeah.
It is, yeah. But this movie, I actually remember me and my brother watching for the first time when we rented it from Mr. Movies, and absolutely blew me away. Not only just Jack Nicholson's performance, but the movie, is so charismatic, and it's fun. Like you were saying before we started recording, the movie is fun up until a point, and then it takes an incredibly dark and disturbing plunge into the void. But I was just curious, maybe Tom, do you have any formative memories around seeing this film? I mean, it is one of a kind, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I saw it, it's one of those titles, that you hear about even before you've seen it. And I was a little kid, and it was just, it's a very TV movie. You know what I mean? Like sure. Regular classic 3-channel TV, and then like TBS, it probably plays every other day, that kind of thing, But sure. I think I saw it like on the Sunday night ABC movie. And so it was a little edited, and I didn't know about the sucker punch. There's like 3 sucker punches in a row at the end of the movie. And I was pretty young still. And I remember, as we were saying earlier, like you were just referencing, like, all right, this is, it's Jack. Like, it's all led by Jack. And everybody knew Jack Nicholson, and like bad Jack Nicholson impressions on Johnny Carson, Jack, And so what I'm saying is you're riding on that. And then it's just like, boom, bloody suicide. Boom, very harsh depiction of shock therapy. Boom, almost strangled to death in a very realistic manner. And then the I guess a positive note is, Chief winds up, busting out in that gorgeous, beautiful ending. And that's an ending
that is
to be envied. So anyway, I'm just saying that I was kind of like, it was kind of making sense as like, this is a pretty fun Jack Nicholson movie, and then it like punched me in the stomach. And then I've seen it like a million times. I never saw it in the theater, but TV helps a lot. And it feels like it's one of those movies too. And then I'll shut up. It's just like, it feels like even if you haven't seen it, you have, because it's like, like this scene happens and that scene happens. It's like constructed to exist in this cloud of public consciousness. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely like really woven in. It's woven into the fabric of American society now. And it's funny you said you saw it with your dad. I feel like I must have seen it with my dad too. It's like at the triumvirate of Cuckoo's Nest, Cool Hand Luke, and Clockwork Orange, and I think, but it's hard for me to really remember the first time I saw it. I definitely saw it on TV too, saw it multiple times growing up, and it's tropes, the tropes that it introduced into the film lexicon and TV show lexicon are just everywhere. Like you said, you feel like you almost, even if you've never seen it, maybe The Simpsons is referencing it here or something.
Exactly.
Like all those tropes, the calming music in the background, the rebel who's liberating. Actually, it's funny because Cool Hand Luke is like that too, like a rebel getting.
I was just thinking that. Yeah. Again, they're both very boomer heroes, and I didn't want to be like boomer. Like, I'm not using it in a pejorative, but just like it is sort of like boomer icons of like a male rebel.
Well,
all the way starting from the book.
Yeah,
early
that's
60s.
pretty. I mean, it's interesting. Like totally. And what's fascinating about that is they don't succeed. As heroes, they fail, but they've got the moral victory. Like there's like a moral victory that they're fighting that costs their lives or whatever. But they
Right.
Like an Easy
so that's a
Rider.
really interesting psychology. Like why not win? But they're like, no, they really love it when their heroes fail.
Well, like Easy Rider, they're blown
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
if I can say, because obviously, Jack, as you were saying, with this movie, is such a big part of it, and this is kind of like an obvious, rhetorical question, but it's like when you really think about this movie and the material of this movie, I can't think of another human being on the planet, another major classic actor who could have inhabited the role of R.P. McMurphy, like to a degree that he is so charismatic in this movie. I mean, just imagine, like his performance, what he's exuding, getting all of these, this incredible supporting cast, which we're going to talk about, but all the guys who are the inmates, getting them riled up enough and being so charismatic, and everyone being, it's really just amazing.
Raise
to
your
watch.
hand, Chief.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
And you like take it for granted. I'm just gonna say, you just take it for granted that like it's just Jack. Oh, it's Jack. It's Jack. But is there really anybody else on the face of the planet who could have done that?
I have a thought experiment based on the reality. The life of this thing is a novel, and then it was a play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the movie. So how about these apples? You like apples?
I love them.
Leonard, if I'm not mistaken, so, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right, is Leonard Nimoy played McMurphy in a theater production.
Is that true?
Just Google it right now. Like, you use the internet machine, Evan.
All right, I'll do it. Keep talking.
No, I'm almost certain because I have a Leonard Nimoy autobiography, and there's a still of him, like, and he's like McMurphy, like with the
Shut up.
with the cap. Yeah, look. Are you googling it? So anyway, what I'm saying, my point is,
really trying.
But while you're looking it up, what I'm saying is, there you go. I mean, we can't see it because it was a play. I guess they didn't film it or anything. But others have done McMurphy, is maybe all I'm saying.
Holy
Right.
shit.
It does look like that's true, yeah. And there's some stills of it too, actually.
No, it is autobiography. It's
There's stills from it, of him in character with the nurse. So, he's got a beard like mine. So,
Oh my.
He's got kind of a Christopher Street like leather cap.
Yeah, he looks like
weird.
cruising.
yes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
cruising.
So anyway, that did happen.
I mean, but there are other people up for the role too, right? Like didn't Kirk Douglas think he was going to play it at some point?
Well,
too?
can I tag in there? Is this a good segue to getting to the origin story of this film before we bask in its
Let's start from
amazing
the beginning, more or less.
Let's start from the beginning, and then we'll get into some of the great scenes and of course we'll spend a lot of time on the supporting cast. That's what I'm really here to talk about.
I know. There's someone I really want to mention. So
we will.
We got to do the cast. Yeah.
We will. Let's do a little background because it is fascinating, okay? So what's interesting is that, this movie as a film starts ground zero with Kirk Douglas, okay? So he acquired the rights to the novel back in galley form. So before it was even actually published, he got a galley of this book and back in the 60s and wanted to turn it into...
like 62 or something.
62, yeah.
Like,
so
before
imagine
the 60s really even happened. Wow.
So imagine like he's coming off of what, Spartacus, and like wants to make this movie. That's wild. That's wild. So
he was young enough to have gotten away with it by like 1963.
Totally. And so his dream for it was to have it sort of transposed into a play, and then he would portray R.P. McMurphy, and it would be a theatrical play. Then the play would be adapted to a film. That was the long sort of thing. But he ran into all these roadblocks from all the studios because they thought it was too depressing. You didn't really see a movie like that, like a movie like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1962 or 3.
Again, it's still so early. It's still just the early 60s, and Hollywood didn't touch anything that resembled that. That's not surprised.
So here's where things get a little coincidental. That's some weird movie, like weird magic in the universe kind of thing happens here. So Kirk saw a Milos Forman film back then. Okay, so probably an early Milos Forman film. Not exactly sure which one in the early 60s, but he saw the movie. He thought that Milos would be a good director for the film, and so he sent the book out to Milos, but it got confiscated at the Czech border. Okay, so he never got it. He just never got it.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and then that was it. They never thought about it for 6 to 7 years, and so then 6 to 7 years go by. Kirk Douglas is unable to get the movie off the ground, right? And so he decides he's going to sell the property. He's going to sell it off to somebody else. Maybe they can have better luck with it. But his son, of course, Michael Douglas, shout out to Michael Douglas, a star of our One Fucking Hour on Disclosure. If you haven't seen that.
He's most famous for
That's
Disclosure.
what he's known for.
He's the Disclosure guy. Everybody.
Check that out in the archives. But anyway, 6 to 7 years later, Michael Douglas said, "Hey, Dad, give me one more chance with the movie." And so he was going to lead the charge to get it financed, Michael Douglas. And so he randomly sees Milos Forman's Fireman's Ball because it had come out around that time. And then he thought Milos would be a good director for the movie. So he sent a copy of the script to Milos, not knowing that his dad wanted Milos originally. So this was just like one of these things that was meant to be. Okay.
They both independently thought of Forman. That's cray.
Isn't that insane? So
that's weird. Well, that has to be related. That's got to be related, right? I mean, the Douglases, they probably talked.
No, this is a
Can
Milos.
I mention this is
about Milos Forman?
Sure, he was like a popular, art house guy back then, right? Like,
I don't know about in '62.
Fireman's Ball was like a kind of a hit, though. Yeah,
not in '62 though. When because that's what I'm saying. Kirk saw a movie in '62, thought he'd be a good.
He saw an early Foreman,
not Fireman's Ball.
Right.
Yeah, that's
like
what we're saying
Peter
here. This is weird.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's weird. Can I just a quick aside that like this is another movie that Michael Douglas is involved in where the villain is like a psychotic woman that's like relentlessly trying to destroy your life, right? Like that was Disclosure, Basic Instinct, and
Fatal Attraction.
The other one, anyway. Fatal Attraction, right?
Yes.
Anyway, whatever.
There's a theme there. So. Anyway, and then we should talk a little bit about Ken Kesey, who is the author of the source material.
Do that,
because this is really interesting too. I mean, this is his background. He worked shifts in a mental hospital, so he was working, there, and that's where a lot of the inspiration from this came. And then, allegedly, according to him, he participated in MK Ultra. I don't know if you guys know that. Which of course
I
is
believe that.
which is the CIA program that tested a wide range of hallucinogens and amphetamines, and it's around that time when he was taking all these drugs, testing all these crazy ass drugs. He was also working as an orderly in the psychiatric hospital, and that's where kind of the idea for this came for this story. And he saw how patients were being treated. He saw that he saw straitjackets, he saw the electroshock therapy, and he's like, "What the fuck? Why are we treating people like this? Why is this like prison conditions? And he was like, these people aren't sick, like they just need care and they need support. And so all of those kind of swirling inspirations is what kind of gave him, the idea to sort of put this book together. However, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just going to say, Kesey's an interesting, just taking a step back, like this is one of those films like Taxi Driver, where there's such a force of talent that's colliding kind of together. So it's like number one, Ken Kesey. That's a big deal. I have read the book. I don't read a lot of books, but I have read Cuckoo's Nest. It's fantastic. I mean, duh. But I'm just saying, like, it is well worth reading, because what I'm saying is it's like a novel and it's not really like a play. Like, he really knows how to write, and it gets quite internal. It's a much more internal experience than, of course, the very stage playish film in a play. But what I'm saying is, so Kesey's a powerhouse, and then you meet Foreman, who's on his second U.S. film, like you said, and before that, this was taking off, which is amazing, and we should do that.
Incredible,
yeah. We definitely
amazing,
would
like
love to.
Like dry comedy. It's just so great, and it's great to have like a foreigner looking at the United States, and that's happening again with Cuckoo's Nest. But then, of course, like we say, there's Jack. So, but I guess what I'm saying is, let's spend a minute on Kesey here. Is my point. And one thing that's colored my feeling about the film is I happened to catch on the David Letterman show when I'd stay up too late as a kid and watch it. And Kesey was on one night, and David Letterman said, "What'd you think of the movie? You know, they made your book a movie." And he said, "What? Everybody asked me that. No, I haven't seen it, and I won't see it. I'm going to die not seeing it." And he says,
and I said, "I swear to God, I will never see your cheesy piece of stuff in my life. I swear to God, I won't see it." And so when it opened, it premiered in my hometown. And they called, and all the press wanted me down there to see it. I said, "That's like calling and saying, 'Hey, the Hells Angels are raping your daughter in the parking lot. Would you like to watch?'"
Ooh, my, oh my.
That is, that we are going to call that. That's on YouTube right now, and I just rewatched it. And I remember that as a kid, and I thought, wow, I really like and respect this guy. And I read the book around that time, and I was like, well, I'm on Team Kesey. You know what I mean? Like, so I've had a problem with this film somewhat. But anyway, Kesey's a real character. And total side note, this book was a huge hit, and it financed the Further bus and the whole Merry Prankster movement that is depicted in what's it called? Like the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test.
Oh yeah.
So that's a huge, and I've read that book too. And so Ken Kesey and his friends in the early to mid '60s, all financed by the Cuckoo's Nest novel success, started hippies. The whole hippie thing: acid, psychedelic music, raga, strobe lights, happenings.
Grateful Dead, tie-dye T-shirts.
Right.
Unreal.
Whole thing. The whole hippie thing is Ken Kesey's. He's the conductor of this crazy orchestra called the Merry Pranksters. So that's just a strange tidbit. So he's a powerhouse, and the book is very special. And so I'm not surprised that someone wanted to make a film of it. But I guess, and I'll shut up. It's just I feel like it does feel a little caged in the form of a play and a movie. And maybe the last thing I'll say here is. Sometimes when I was reading that book, I thought, could you make a film of what this book is doing? So,
well, can I clarify for the folks at home?
Different.
Yeah, just for the folks at home who may be curious about if you haven't read the book is very different in that, well, yes, you said it's very literary. It does get pretty psychedelic. And it does get pretty impressionistic too.
Dreamy,
I mean,
yeah.
Because you're not inside the mind of. I think you're not inside the mind of R.P. McMurphy. You're inside the mind of a schizophrenic Native American character. I think that's the main character of the book, which is different, obviously, than the movie. And it's perfect for literature. Yeah, Chief, because everything's very heightened. I said impressionistic, hallucinogenic, and it just wouldn't translate really.
No.
At that time on screen or any time really. So I think that might be one of the main.
It'd be more like David Lynch, actually.
Right.
If you were to do the novel, adhering to the novel, the tone, it would feel like a David Lynch movie. Yeah, like Eraserhead. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, it's interesting. Yeah. And that's why he refused to see it, because he felt like it was an assault on this poetic, work of art that he made.
Right.
And I understand his point.
Exactly. So that's kind of the difference there. Okay, so one of the, just real quick, just to get through some of the backstory stuff, one of the things that's just super fascinating to me is the real life person, Dr. Brooks. Okay, so Dr. Brooks was the real life, I guess, I don't know what you call him, but he was the main doctor that was at the head of the hospital that they used as a location in the film. Okay, Milos likes to work in practical locations, and many hospitals turned him down to shoot this film in because of the way that it was going to portray not only the staff but also patients and just the whole process.
Yeah, this is Oregon, right?
Yes, it was shot in Oregon. So there was one hospital in Oregon run by this Dr. Brooks, who it was, I think, outside of Salem, Oregon, or around there or something. He welcomed them in because, and this is amazing, he was quite progressive, I hear. He's also in the film. He plays the doctor. He plays the doctor that
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, he plays the non-actor. He plays the doctor that Jack Nicholson talks to when he first arrives, when he says,
like, he's like, how much was that trout partner,
exactly.
That's Jack's talking. Oh, wow. Okay.
Exactly. So that's Dr. Brooks. So Dr. Brooks, but he, as I said, very progressive. He welcomed them in because he thought Hollywood coming to the hospital could be extremely therapeutic for the patients. Okay. And he also wanted to serve as the tech supervisor or tech advisor on the film. And he actually looked over the entire script, changed dialogue to reflect real terminology, helping the medical professionals sound more real and lifelike and more accurate.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just because this is pinpointing exactly what you're getting at. I've been confused over the years. Like when I first saw it, when is it set? Early 60s, right?
I actually, that probably makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because
I'm not sure though.
I guess what I'm saying is that terminology changes, obviously. So it's not a reflection of 1975 psychiatric hospitals, but like 1962. I'm assuming, right? And he would have enough, he would have enough understanding by, I'm sure, decades of being in the institution of going like, this is a reflection of like, because things changed from 62 to 75, somewhat at least, I'm sure. So he probably had some idea to, have a more antiquated depiction.
Yeah, I mean the pants aren't bell bottoms, right? So it's probably not the 70s. To your point,
Yeah, and he's
but also,
very.
I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sorry, there's a delay in our recording, so it's always like you go. I was just gonna say that like he was Dr. Brooks, as Dr. Brooks was sensitive to the depiction of these older, antiquated, more styles of quote unquote treatment for these patients, these types of patients. So he was like, one of the reasons he actually allowed it to happen is because he's like at first he was like, I don't know if I want to be a part of this because it's going to show those awful sides of what this sort of process is like. But he's like, well, it's not a documentary, this is a narrative scripted film. So once he adjusted that sort of mindset towards what they were about to do, he could because it wasn't going to be a negative reflection on what they're doing in Salem, Oregon. But if I can, gentlemen,
it looks pretty negative to me though. It looks like a real indictment of the institution.
No, it does, but not like, but he was like, it's not a documentary, them coming in here documenting what I do.
So he's being protective of the specific location. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the best part of this, okay? And I don't know if you know about this, but one of the things Dr. Brooks negotiated with the producers of the film, was that it was very important to him that he include the patients, the real patients at his real hospital, in as many areas of the filmmaking process as possible. So he didn't. So
behind and in front of the camera.
Behind the camera, mostly behind the camera, working in jobs in the electrical department, catering, everything. So the real patients of the hospital are working to make this movie happen, which has
like
pros
they're
and
making
cons.
this like Jack Nicholson's Jell-O.
Yeah,
in the background.
That's insane.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's amazing. And get this, guys, 85 patients worked on this movie. Real patients worked on this film.
No idea.
As gaffers, electricians, caterers. And it's amazing because Milos actually reflects on this and said that at the beginning of production, he remembers this one guy, this one patient there, who couldn't put 3 words together at the start of the production, but by the end of the whole process, he was ordering people around and getting really into it.
There should have been a documentary about the making.
It would have been amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
So that to me just really stood out as like a holy shit, sort of thing with this film. But what they learned as they were doing this is they learned that a lot of the patients, this is the con side of it, a lot of the patients there were actually criminally insane. Okay. So they later discovered that the guy who's the most famous arsonist in all of Oregon, they gave the job in the electrical department, wiping down lamps with cans of kerosene and things like that.
Of course.
There was also one guy who managed to who tried to escape by climbing through a window, and he fell and injured himself. So it was pretty quote unquote crazy on set, with all of the stuff going on. But it's just fascinating.
Well, it's the 70s. It's the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah, part of the history of this
film.
Can
I, not to bog down on maybe another tangent here, but just one of the revelations I had when I first saw the film, one of the upsetting moments when I saw this film, mind blowers, was that revelation when Nicholson is looking around and he's realizing, like I didn't know and he didn't know, that everyone here is voluntarily there.
Now look, I'm voluntary here. See, I'm not committed. I don't have to stay here. I mean, I can go home anytime I want.
You can go home anytime you want.
And except him and like a couple, maybe like Michael Baron. So I was blown away. So it's funny that you would say that where a guy is quote unquote escaping, because they're all. I mean, I don't know if what I'm saying is in the film it's depicting them as self-admitted, but maybe that's not so much the case in the actual institution. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, whatever. But isn't that a mind blower? Just a little tangent. Like that always gets me. Because you get a sinking feeling because you, the viewer, and Jack, when you're first seeing it, are just assuming like, well, this guy, like, they're not going to get him like 100 miles from a town. Like, are you kidding me? But they're like, no, I'm fucked up, and I really like being here. It's like, it's a horrifying. It's maybe the most horrifying
amazing
moment, right? Is it just me?
It's so great. Oh, it's so great. Yeah, and it's also his realization that he sort of self-owned himself by like he was trying to get out of prison. He's trying to get a cushy break from prison. But he ended up like basically signing himself up to stay in this mental institution forever. But I guess it's a double realization that, and everybody there who he thinks are crazy or who he thinks, whatever, that they're all, voluntary there. It's nuts. Yeah, I
don't know. That always got me because, he has a big reaction to it. And it's just like, I think it's one of the key moments in the film of what the film's trying to say and do. You know what I mean? Because it makes it much more complicated a depiction, and it's more of like it has a broader scope about like general insanity and mental illness in society, and it's not isolating like, well, these 100 people are lock them up, throw away the key, they're bananas. It's just like, no, they're like deeply wounded, they have a lot of mental problems, they need a lot of therapy, and then you could extrapolate that and go, well, they're basically just representations of society in general, and not so much these huge outlier, maniacs. Right, you guys know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's trying to like, even though he sees them as being more insane than him, but also because he sees them as having more real problems than he does, because he's faking it, right?
Yes.
He's faking being crazy,
right?
But he also sees them as real people. That he sees them as people, whereas the institution sees them as like insane or whatever, right? So
yeah.
But his realization there is that like, even though he sees himself as the most sane one, that he has just been committed to the hospital for the insane. So yeah, it's a crazy moment. There's something about the authenticity that just to the point of the authenticity of the film. I'm not like, it is a great movie and a great play, and I was sort of just looking into like like other people's reactions, like Ebert's reaction to it specifically. He's going to come up.
I vote no.
One of his.
Gotta have an Ebert reference every episode.
He did like it, but he had some problems with it, and I think one of them was just that that the issues of insanity and mental hospitals and stuff, that is a part of the film, but it's so reduced, and that there is a lot of like the idea that they could just solve everyone's problems with therapy and pills. It's very like reduced to the bare minimum, and all the characterizations are reduced to like a minimum, almost like a stock character or something. That's a good thing for a play or for a film, for you to feel the emotion. But it makes it, he says it's so cartoonish in a way that it makes it less about like a mental institution, like properly, less of a criticism about prisons and institutions, even though that's part of it, and more of a criticism of like a rebel in society. That's really what it's about than like.
Well, that's what I was saying.
That was interesting. Yeah,
I agree with him in a way. It's like in the sense that I don't think this film is. There's expose muckraking films like the completely forgotten Brubaker with Robert Redford. Robert Redford, like a big Hollywood liberal. Like these guys make these films that you're talking about, Marcus, like that Ebert was, where it's like, this is a scandal, the China Syndrome or something, or like
Silkwood.
Yeah, right. And like those are about like, we gotta stop the corruption and stop the XYZ stuff. And like, this is not that. This is a metaphorical book, film, play about like what I was just saying before, where it's like, it's not about the setting. It's not about mental patients. It's a big abstract representation of life as on Earth in general, and that there's these people who are like medicating themselves and wallowing in their problems and being controlled by overseers, you know, on and on and on, and have regular lives. People who have regular lives are as damaged often as these patients, is what I'm trying to say. But then there's this guy, and this is the baby boomer hero theory. He's like the first hippie kind of McMurphy. And that's why it really resonated with young readers of like Jack Kerouac and stuff, where he's like, hey man, what if you go the other direction? You know, and it's a little corny for me because we've lived through so much of this, but it was very refreshing for, again, literally baby boomers in a very conformist 50s coming out and going, hey man, what if we walk backwards and against traffic, you know, and like just in a general sense. So it's not really about the mental health institutions.
I gotta tag in.
Right.
What do you guys think?
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted quickly about the beat. The Cassidy, you know, he was like, Kesey was friends with Neil Cassidy and stuff. Right. He did view himself as like a conduit between the Beat generation and the hippie generation. He literally was that. But it's like, instead of being like someone that like withdraws from society, it's like, why don't you put this like freak, this like rebel in society to mess things up? Let's like stir the pot, you know. Exactly. Let's take the Beat out of obscurity and drop them into society and see how that stirs things up, and that could be a real
drop the McMurphy,
change.
Drop the McMurphy icon into a conformist, mentally ill, quietly, desperately dying inside society, and that's one for the Cuckoo's Nest, you know.
Yeah, I it's okay. I just wanted to respond to kind of what you guys were, all of this. You know, because where like you see sort of an honest depiction of a mental institution for the criminally insane, you know, like with Titty Cut Follies or something. This is not that at all, you know. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not that. Right. This is even in Milosh's words, you know, is a story, yes, about a rebel, a hero who questions authority, a power, and he becomes that hero. He becomes that sort of, you know, folklore hero. But then in the process of doing what he is, he's the one that becomes the nut. You know, and or vice versa, you know, and that's sort of what he's examining with this is like, you know, the insanity or the craziness of these of people like R.P. McMurphy, who then, you know, cross over into the other side, you know, and it's more of an allegory, more of a metaphorical allegory than it is a depiction of, you know, the, you know, mental institutions of America, even though there's themes of that in the film. You know,
absolutely.
But it's interesting your point though, like, or what Foreman was saying, which is like the anti-hero. What we're saying here, McMurphy, he's not doing so great before the institution, but then this shock situation that he's in has also kind of like mutated him, and he's maybe gone too far over the edge of being like an outlier and like bucking the system and all that stuff, and that can damage that person too. Very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Well, he tries to cheat the system, and then he pays for it, you know, like in a lot of ways. One thing, if we can, unless, Marcus, you want to tag in on the end of that, put a bow on that for us?
Just that. Well, I was wondering about, you mentioned Titty Cut Follies, and I was wondering if you're with your sort of the sort of stories about palace intrigue and the making of, if you were going to touch on Haskell Wexler and like and the sort of drama that around that. Did you read into that at all?
I did.
Because it does connect with Titty Cut Follies, because, you know, like maybe this is a good segue, but like what he was saying was, because he got fired from the movie, right? And he finally came out and started talking about it and stuff.
He's the cinematographer, we should say for the audience. Haskell Wexler, he was on board in the film as the cinematographer, very famous, iconic cinematographer and filmmaker, and he was the cinematographer, but was excused and fired by Michael Douglas off this movie. But go on, Marcus.
He basically shot the whole thing except for 2 minutes, he says, you know. And then Bill Butler, who's also an acclaimed cinematographer, did like Jaws, you know, in Grease, stepped in, and they both had the Academy Award for it. But what he was saying was that, you know, that he clashed early on with Milosh, who he thought had the wrong take on it, right? He was saying that Milos was actually showing the crew Titty Cut Follies, and so, and then the first few days of shooting, that it was a lot heavier and like more depicted more like 19th century style mental institutions and stuff, and that there was a big clash. Evan, do you want to? I don't want to steal if you read into this too, but he was saying that he clashed with the that Milos had like a showdown with the production designer on set, like that was like he was like, "Are you really gonna make this like do this the wrong way?" You know, and they had this big argument in front of the crew and stuff, and that sort of caused like a rift with a problem with Milos, like and the rest of the crew, that they lost kind of faith in him in the middle of this production. This is from Haskell, who's a little butthurt about being fired from the movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, all I know is Milos's side, which, you know, he sums up in a very Milos sort of way, where he basically said, you know, a cinematographer's ideal movie is to make a movie without actors, you know, and there's no actors, you know, and then
now this is the man who made Man on the Moon, by the way.
Okay, hang on.
So Milos has some pluses and some minuses. So.
I got to get the other side of his quote though, and then he goes, but for a director, the best way to make a film is without a camera. You know, it's just with the actors. You know, so he basically. Says they can never truly be happy, but a lot of other people basically said that Milos was, you know, he was early on in his career, and he wasn't as experienced in dealing with, you know, an American cinematographer making films more in a Hollywood sort of way, and you know he was, you know, doing things his own way. And I mean, if you look at Taking Off, it's much more obtuse than One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's not a Hollywood movie. You know, that's a weird independent film. So that's a good point. I never thought of that. That's his first Hollywood film performance. Cuckoo's Nest. That's interesting. So of course he would.
Haskell Wexler was a director too. You know, so like he was like
right.
You know, I think that there was some like speculation early on that might happen. And then he was saying that he actually didn't have faith in him because he thought that a foreigner wouldn't understand the intricacies of America, which I think is wrong. You know, but
we've dealt with that with Stroysek and Herzog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it's nice to have that. I mean, it often is nice to have the perspective, the people that understand us better than we understand ourselves.
Oh, I love it. I love foreign depictions of the United States. Always interesting. Always
so funny.
Now, you know, we've been talking at this time about like the institution, the day-to-day, and these rooms full of mentally ill patients. Now, maybe let's start fleshing out, you know, the character actors who play these indelible characters, the people who aren't Jack, you know, who dominates the film, Jack, and then, you know, of course, Ratchet. The incredible cast of supporting players.
It's my favorite part about the movie.
Let's go through it.
My favorite part about the movie is the fact that this is literally an all-star character actor movie, and that's what endures with me so much. You know, 30 years later, or whatever, seeing it now is just
Martini.
That, you know, Mr. fucking Martini, okay? Let me just tell you about Mr. Martini.
It's before they were all-star cast, you know?
Yes.
I love those type.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were a lot of them were, this got them, you know, on the radar of Hollywood, and they had careers. Even Michael Berryman, you know?
Okay, you want to start there, so go ahead.
I do. I'm going to start with Michael
Berryman and Vincent Schiavelli in the same movie.
Who is for everyone, he's the teacher in Fast Times. You know,
and he has the droopy face.
He's very incredibly tall, droopy face guy. But okay, well, all right, well, whatever. We'll start with Michael Berryman, and I want to start because his existence, his mere presence, standing, is a joke. Like a joke plays off it, because it's when Jack's going around saying like, "Raise your hand for the World Series," and he just looks at Michael Berryman, who's just staring into the air, and just goes. I'm not even getting like, you know, he doesn't even say anything. Jack's just like,
that's the best.
That's like not that guy. And it's like, classic. Holy shit. And when I first saw it as a kid, I was like, yeah, who is that guy? Like, and I thought when I saw Berryman for the first time, I thought, oh, well, they got someone who's, you know, part of the institution. That's not an actor. But then he's fucking in Hills Have Eyes, you know, like a year later, and he's a famous character actor. Michael fucking Berryman is in this film, and his presence is, I don't know, I'll just say it's indelible. His first big role. You know,
he's like chained up. He's like chained up to that that wall. Like he's almost like crucified on that wall when they first see him.
There's a weird deleted scene where he's chained up there and he's like he's peeing. Yeah, and Jack's like, get him off the wall. I'm like, I don't think I dreamed it, but I swear I think
got to see that.
I hope you did.
He's like, he's chained up against the wall in like a Christ pose, and he's peeing, and Jack's like, get to the bathroom or whatever. Like,
look at him. That's very crazy.
All right, I'm
so
on
Michael Berryman. Michael Berryman, in 2 seconds, I'll indulge this. Sorry, I saw a Q&A with Berryman years ago, and he was saying that he almost had a brush with Hollywood 3 years before because he said that he was waiting in line to get ice cream at Venice Beach. Michael Berryman getting some ice cream, and Steven Spielberg walks by and goes, "Excuse me, you should get an agent. You should be in the pictures," because he thought he was he cut a striking figure. It's Michael Berryman, And I don't think Berryman even considered being in Hollywood. He was just like, I'm a guy, I got this, affliction. What are you going to do? And so he said that was the first time he had Hollywood knocking on his door. And it indirectly led maybe to Cuckoo's Nest, I think, because it got him thinking. His encounter with Spielberg got him thinking, like, maybe I should be in the pictures. So number 1 on our list, Michael Berryman.
Michael Berryman.
Yeah. And I want to just contextualize, too, that this, before we get into the other character actors, this movie does a tremendous job, just to talk about one scene in particular, that first sort of group therapy session, where that guy Harding, is talking about his wife.
Harding.
And Harding is
Harding,
I'm a Harding guy for sure. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I'm Team Harding too. Yeah.
Total there's something very Dan Clowes about this movie to me, and it comes alive in that scene too, where you really you're seeing everything through McMurphy's eyes, and you're seeing these guys, these larger than life characters, and they're inhabiting these characters so well, each and every single one of them, and you're really getting to know who they are and what their quirks are by this scene of Harding's wife. And special shout out to my favorite of this bunch. I'm a fucking Mr. Cheswick guy all the way, because there are
Elastic, baby.
He's sweet. Yeah,
I have Mr. Cheswick days, guys. I have Mr. Cheswick days, Mr. Cheswick moments.
Hey,
I want my.
There's a little
cigarettes!
Cheswick in all of us.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
That's why the movie. I think that's part of the
incredible.
People do connect with the characters. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't even seem like who's good. I guess a shout out to whoever the hell did the casting. I don't know how this worked, but these there's the acting, but just the faces.
The faces are incredible.
Sidney Elastic's face is like 70% there. Like you go there just looking at him.
Yeah.
But then his acting is fucking on point.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the casting, though, I know, shout out to Fred Roos, who was a producer on Godfather and a bunch of other movies, but he got Louise involved, and I'm assuming he got more, but he is the guy that has the amazing casting track record. The one off the top of my head is Outsiders, where it's again, he picked fucking just baller actor after actor. It's it's just another movie that's just stacked with before they were famous stars. So Fred Roos,
in a slightly different way, from there's pinups and then there's the freak show of
right.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Let's talk about Louise Fletcher just for a second. I mean, obviously, everything's been said about her and her performance. I mean, she won the Oscar for this, right? I mean, and she also, she played this role so well that she got so much heat, outside in the real world, where people basically assumed this is who she was in real life. But it is a stroke of genius in terms of the casting and the way that she is portraying this character, because and I agree with this, is the most dangerous evil, the most dangerous evil in a movie is somebody who believes they are doing good. And that's the scariest shit. And she inhabits that so well in this. And one thing I thought that was pretty fucking crazy about her preparation for this movie is that her and Jack spent a lot of time in that real hospital, like we were talking about, and I think touring other hospitals as well. And her and Jack they made them both witness electroshock therapy for real, you know. And one of the main
who did Foreman
the producers. Yeah, producers, director, whoever, the people involved, and she's kind of like, I don't want to do this. Why do I have to see this? Well, it's like you have to understand, you know, what your character is, going to be dishing out. You know what the consequences are. You know,
that's harsh.
and is harsh. But I mean, man, like intense, man. Yeah.
It's incredible performance. It doesn't even seem like she's acting. I mean, that's the real mix of it.
Can I just say, my only thing is, there's one great benefit of casting her in that there's no baggage. It's not like Faye Dunaway, meaning you've never seen her before. You know, when she broke out, she's an unknown actress, so she could live and embody Nurse Fletcher because you don't have any other context for her. And that was really helpful, I think. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe a typecaster, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
definitely. No. I was watching her Oscar acceptance speech today, you know, and it was pretty cool. Like she was like,
well, it looks like you all hated me so much that you've given me this award for it, and I'm loving every minute of it. And all I can say is I've loved being hated by you.
You must really hate me to give me this award, and I'm so glad that you all hate me so much. You know, because they hate the character.
Right. Yeah, no, right.
She's such a detestable character. And then she says, she's like, thanks her parents, but she does it all in sign language because I guess her mom, both her parents are deaf. You know, it's sort of
right. That's kind of a famous moment in the Oscars. And I just have one observation, just getting into the character for a second. Is I've seen some criticism, I think, and this is my Pauline Kael reference of the episode, ladies and gentlemen. Pauline Kael, yeah, it's inevitable. Pauline Kael, like the film, okay, she's a little wobbly on it, but one thing that got my mind thinking, and you know, I don't always agree with Kael, and that's the point. It's like she's stimulating to my mind about a film I might love, and she has a different take on it. Like she didn't like The Shining. It was an interesting read. But she was saying that there's this kind of, she didn't like the gross element of, right from Kesey's book, of this Oedipal mother, like, well, not even Oedipal, but this mother hatred. Because if you do take a step back, it's like, you know, she was saying sort of like, Ken Kesey must have a real problem with his mother. And for people who really hate their mothers, like, I think it might resonate pretty strongly. I don't happen to. But so I can't relate to it directly, like, you know, being honest, like men who hate their mothers, because that's a big thing. And I think that is a huge part of this movie, forgetting, you know, abstracting everything. It's basically this evil bitch mother, and you're bucking her and she's wrong. And I think it's reiterated too in like how she's steering Billy's mind in the therapy session. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like she's the surrogate mother for Billy, you know, who has a problem with his own mother. So I just found that like, it felt a little icky when I read Kael's take on it about how like there's this Freudian dark place that male psyches take when they have mother problems. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I thought of it. Yeah. What do you think?
Isn't also that in the
only real woman character in the book. I'm sorry, in everything. She's the only female really represented.
Sorry, there's also a prostitute. There's also a prostitute in the movie.
Well, yeah, I see.
No, I know, but I'm saying I'm making that connection, the mother and the whore. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying that there's also a misogynistic element there, and then, you know, and then she's always Ratchet's also got her little toady with her all the time too. The girl that never speaks.
I'm saying big principal character, you know, but I'm saying completely.
Oh no, I'm not criticizing. I'm with you. I'm saying that the female characters in the film are, you know, there's a bit of misogyny to there, and I know you're specifically zeroing in on the definitely. Well, that's what he's trying to tell them all to do is just be a guy, be a man, you know, a drink, fuck, you know, like
and say fuck you to your mother. You know, like it's about like males saying like, don't tell me. And also it's a hatred against like your wife. Like it's all like nagging moms, nagging mothers. And it's like, screw you. I'm going to ride my Harley and get drunk. Maybe I'll even crash, mom, you know, and it's just, it feels a little weird.
It is very like rebellious. He frames that a lot too, the way that Nicholson, when he's getting in trouble with like the head superintendent guy or whatever, you know, he's kind of like, he's kind of got like a dog ate my homework, or like I was a bad boy or whatever. You know, he's always saying like it's framed kind of like a schoolboy or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only thing I wanted to add to that was just I think in the book the nurse character is played very monstrous, very very heightened, like kind of almost like a dreamlike in terms it takes different forms and shapes and sizes and stuff. And it's very surreal.
So I guess I don't think it's fair to criticize Kesey's take, but I think it's interesting to consider that Kesey's got a very big mother fixation hang up in a classic Freudian sense. And I think that, he can't help it. It's who he is and it's his personality, but it's a little gross. Sometimes I get a little grossed out by like the real mother hatred of this film. This mother is almost like matricide. It's to the point of almost a matricide.
There'll be some things that like a modern audience wouldn't jive with too. I think that like he's like a statutory rapist who's like the hero of the movie, and he's like kind of being like openly racist to the chief, like by today's standard or whatever. So he's also the chief's best buddy or whatever. But I think there's some things like that modern audiences just along the lines of what you're saying would like be would have issues with.
Just speaking of the chief. Just speaking of the chief, I'm seeing we're sub 10 minutes, and I got a couple things I want to get in before we
got more guys. We got more characters.
I have a couple more characters before we ride off into the sunset. Obviously, Will Sampson, who plays the chief, who's awesome. Shout out to Raimi too, because one of Raimi's best friends is Chief's real life granddaughter. So he has swear. So there's a lot of actually Raimi's done a documentary about Will Sampson's son, which is very interesting, which we can link to this. So she's got a lot of connection to that family.
That's cool.
So as well.
You know what? Cool. I have one word to respond to that.
Okay.
Juicy fruit.
Juicy fruit. Boy, you sly son of a bitch, Chief.
Man, this movie has some great fucking reveals in it. Like it has some great moments. Like when you were talking about when Jack realizes that these people are here voluntarily. When you realize that Chief is on the level, come on, that's movie. That's Hollywood.
It's almost like a mystery, like a plot twist.
It's
like in a well-written thriller. It's it's like because you don't see it coming. He didn't, and that's the thing. You're taking the ride with McMurphy, and then you and him are like juicy fruit. God damn it! So this whole time you were fully cogent.
Yeah.
You just decided I'm not gonna fucking talk. I'll just push this broom around slowly, and everyone will leave me alone. But he's the soul of the film.
He is
getting back to the incredible ending. That is any of the flaws I might feel for this film are and there's another shout I wanted. Jack Nietzsche's score.
Yeah.
Oh.
That weird slidey, widely.
It's a saw. It's a singing saw. It's like
incredible.
I have no problems with this movie. But go on.
No, I got you. Well,
none for me.
The way it works.
It fills you with such joy and elation watching it. Those reveals, the ending, the reveals, those moments fill you with. You're just in. It's just a great movie. Like you're just filled with joy and elation, and you're just I don't know. It just has a real magic where it can pull you in, and it's almost hard to get into the details of why it works so well. We're just talking about the backstory and great acting or whatever. It's hard to. What is the magic mixture that makes this movie?
But for me, the ending,
so well.
The ending it does a magical job. Where we were talking about what a downer it is for a long time in the penultimate parts of the film. We're talking about almost matricide, bloody, torn up neck, death, suicide. And then McMurphy both getting hardcore realistic looking shock therapy and being suffocated ultimately by Chief. But that ending,
so dark.
It's like your soul goes. No, but the very ending is like an indelible image, and it's so beautiful. Chief just running into the woods, man. And that really, that's some good boomer. And I'm trying not to sound derogatory when I say this, the term boomer. But what I mean is, it's a beautiful rendering of the hippie generation's idea of being freer and getting out of these closed, ugly rooms full of neurosis and just running and saying hello to Mother Nature and your true nature. It's beautiful.
I don't think that 70s Hollywood's done it better. That's all I'm going to say. To me, I think this is the pinnacle of 70s Hollywood for me. I think it's so perfect in so many ways. The performances, that ending moment, it really is incredible. if I
it's
can.
timeless. I mean, it doesn't feel like 75. You would never be like, oh, this movie is on the nose 1975. It feels really timeless.
Good call. Yeah. That's why it doesn't even feel like it's set in any particular time. It feels like it's set in like the 20th century.
Yeah.
Like
it's so
post-war generally. Quick. I had forgotten earlier. We were rattling off people. Scatman Crothers is in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hello. And what's really, I just want to be petty for 1 second and get into the weirdness of Jack Nicholson and Scatman and their journey together in film.
Yeah,
because,
wild.
You're like, you might think that this is the premiere of those two guys being in the same movie, Scatman and Jack, and then they wind up in, of course, The Shining. But they actually were both in The King of Marvin Gardens, which is the follow-up to, and it's a great movie, the great follow-up to Five Easy Pieces, the Bob Rafelson film. And Scatman and Jack are in that too. And I've always wondered if, I'm making this up, maybe it's not true, but I thought I've heard that Jack meets Scatman during Marvin Gardens and goes, "You're awesome." And they became like friendly. And then he's like, "Oh, we're doing Cuckoo's Nest. Oh, we got it. I know Scatman. I'm calling him. We're going to do this." And then he's like, to Kubrick, he's like, "Scatman Crothers, dude. We got to get him. He's like my buddy." Like, I don't know if you guys have heard anything about that. I feel like they bonded. They weren't coincidental in these films.
No. The one thing I heard was that Shelley Duvall was up for the role of considered for the role of Candy, so she would have been in this and The Shining.
Wow, interesting.
Now it's getting weird.
Sorry, you guys are taking it.
Yeah, please.
You guys are taking it in other directions. I just wanted to. I've been trying to put a bow on Will Sampson here for about 5 minutes.
Oh, God.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to also say, that he's also equally fascinating too, because he's not an actor, and he was sort of, his involvement in this movie was basically on a sighting. Someone saw him and was like, "Oh my God, this is the character of this Indian that we need in this movie." And he's actually a painter by trade. He's a very fascinating, amazing, person to dig into. Further reading Will Sampson.
Like
he's a painter.
Art painter.
He's a painter. Yeah. Yes, he's an artist. Yeah. So, fascinating individual. The one I want to get in, we've sort of talked about a little bit, but it ties into a few things I wanted to quickly get in before the hour's over, and I'm sure you're going to thank me. Is Vincent Schiavelli is incredible in this movie. Obviously, one of the great faces of film. But I just wanted to say one little detail that's buried in a much larger, amazing scene that I love in this movie. Okay, so Juicy Fruit's a great moment, but my favorite actual overall scene in this movie is when they hijack the bus and they go out and they charter the boat. Nothing is better than that moment when Jack is talking to the dock worker and is like, "You're
not going to say it.
This is the famous Dr. Scanlon." But rattling off all these as doctors is amazing. But my favorite little moment with
Mr. Harding, though.
Mr. Harding. This is Mr. Harding.
So good.
Yeah, Mr. Harding.
Dr. Scanlon, famous Dr. Scanlon, Mr. Harding, Dr. Bibbett, Dr. Martini, and Dr. Seafeld.
The famous Dr. Scanlon.
Him, yeah.
Yeah, incredible. Is when Vincent Schiavelli takes out the fish's eyeball.
I knew you were going to say this because I hate that scene. That actually was that upset me more than anything when I was like 9 years old. I was like, "Don't do this." "Oh, you're still doing it." "Oh, we're lingering on this shot." And his face, like a moronic fascination. It's like, I can't.
He takes out.
Jack mentions it too.
Hang on.
I look away.
He
Pauline
takes out.
Kael brings it up too, by the way.
He takes out the fish's eyeball. He sniffs it and then he puts it back in the eye socket.
Bye, everybody.
It's amazing that that's in a movie.
I'm kidding. It's
so good.
It's too crazy.
That's the Daniel Clowes aspect of this movie that I appreciate so much.
I knew you were going to bring it.
Good. I'm so glad. Anyway, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm glad we talked on Michael Berryman and everything else. But anything else you want to get in, Marcus?
Supposedly, Danny DeVito was in the off-Broadway play too, so he's just like rehashing his character that he did in the play, which makes sense.
Really, it's hard to see Danny DeVito and not just think modern times, Taxi and everything. But like he really transforms as Martini.
Yeah.
Like his eyes squint and
he's so sweet.
Yeah. Well, he's just.
I want to pick him up. I want to pick him up and hold him. You know.
No, I don't.
What's up with? I was realizing that Christopher Lloyd and Danny DeVito were both in this before they were on Taxi.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Like
before we recorded, we talked about that. Yeah.
Oh gosh,
okay.
I forget sometimes, but I don't know. I guess we've got a minute. Go for it, guys. Whatever you mind.
Well, I was curious. Like, I was curious about like why did he leave? Why didn't he leave? Why didn't Jack?
Oh,
leave? He had the moment.
That's one of those.
Well, he wasn't allowed to.
No, he fucked it up.
At the end, he was gonna at the drunk night party.
He's
right. Staring out the window. And then he's supposed to leave, and he doesn't leave. And the next morning, he wakes up on the floor. So
he got too drunk and passed out. I thought he just got stupid and sloppy.
Yeah,
like oh shit, I drank.
Isn't it more of a decision about his fate or something? You know, it's like more resounding.
I thought he just was a lazy fuck up.
I think it's a fail. I think it's a total fail. I think it's like he is a loser. And I think
he missed. He's a loser. Yeah, he missed the bus because he missed the window. His alarm clock broke. Yeah. That's my take on it. There's nothing
very
more
sad.
than he's a sad sack.
Very tragic and very frustrating. But yeah, I think that is what
that ending. It really is just like it's a punching, a punching bag. Like you're like, oh my, because I forgot about that, the missed opportunity that he had. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You are really rooting for him when he's going after Ratchet too. Yeah, the power of this movie.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about Jack Nicholson, really. Not really.
That's okay. People have talked about.
Everybody knows Jack. Yeah.
Jack.
How many people talk about the fish in the eye? That movie with the hook in the eyeball.
Evan and Pauline Kael.
yeah. Pauline didn't like it. Anyway,
I also didn't get to talk about the guy in the wheelchair who comes up with his cane and hits the punching bag.
Yes, I love him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, that was my one cheat. Okay. All right, everybody, that was one. That was 1 fucking hour on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Flew over the cuckoo's nest.
One fucking cuckoo.
I'm really glad we did that, and that we're back to form. I just want to say that, in the sense of some of these innovations have been fun, and we've had guests and stuff, but this is a hardcore, old school 1 fucking hour episode, and it's great. I really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Just to go back to form.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was a blast. I had a blast talking about it. Good to revisit this movie. I watched it. I finished it just earlier today, and it's one of those movies I can watch it at any point in time.
Thanks for the knowledge, man. I didn't know all kinds of things. Very interesting. But you guys, I shared the Leonard Nimoy connection.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do visual. Let's put up some stills. I think there's a lot of stills of him.
Oh, we will
depicting Murphy.
We will. That's
isn't
crazy.
It wrong? Can your head get around that?
Crazy wrong trivia.
He seemed to do a lot of things to try to break the Spock curse, but nothing worked. Like he had that song about hobbits and stuff.
Well, you know what the name of the you know what the name of his autobiography was, right, Marcus, in the 70s?
No.
I am not Spock.
Right. I was going to guess that, actually.
It's a book about his life. That's the title. It's like, and you know what, though? He had a second autobiography, 25 years later or so, and that was called I Am Spock.
Whoa.
Little life journey of Leonard Nimoy.
That's
wow.
Of course.
Anyway, I was on set with him once, and he did just radiate, like everyone was just like fixated, you know.
Oh,
yeah, I was on the commercial with him once. It was nuts, yeah.
Leonard Nimoy.
That's cool.
That's a cool one.
That's a cool one.
That's a cool meetup. You also met Bob Dylan. He's met some people, man.
Whoa, look at this guy. Yeah. Holy shit.
Isn't that great?
That's insane. Guys, let me just take a minute here to plug my One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest portraits that I did last year, if you don't mind.
Awesome.
Here's my Mr. Cheswick.
You need to make a tattoo. You need a tattoo of that.
I know. These are like my Russian prison tattoo portraits of the cast of the film. But, of course, you got your Schiavelli. Got to have your Schiavelli.
Yeah.
Very hard to draw. It's a hard one to draw.
Eyes.
Mr. fucking Martini.
I'm telling you, he's the MVP for me. Like his eyes, his squinting.
Yeah, it's incredible.
He's so endearing.
Yeah, he's the best.
I don't know. I don't agree with you on that one. We have a difference of opinion on that one. He's great too.
And
it's
Lloyd,
Christopher fucking Lloyd, man.
Yeah, unbelievable. Nice. So anyway, just thought I'd plug those.
That's awesome.
Okay.
You're selling them in the parking lot after the show, right?
I am, yes. Ooh, they'd actually make great T-shirts if we ever wanted to make some Cuckoos T-shirts. Yeah. No, I should have done Berryman.
That's next. You'll do that.
That's next. I will. I got to work on some more.
Mr. Harding.
Mr. Harding.
Well,
all right.
Onward and upward, guys. What's next week?
Let's do it. Let's talk about next week. Getting back into it again. Back to the gems that we normally cover on this show. We cover something that, a major big film like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now let's talk about a real 70s gem here, and this is definitely one of those. So it's definitely a Tom favorite as well too, right?
I know every second intimately. I could do a Trivia Pursuit on the movie. I know every second, every word.
Get ready, spray bottle time for next week.
Yeah, sorry.
Is going to be 1 fucking hour on Over the Edge, starring, of course, Matt Dillon. What year is it, Tom? 78? What is it?
79, buddy. It's
79.
another. We're going back to the. I call it the 1 fucking hour gulch of 1979 to 1982.
Oh yeah,
like our car always winds up getting in that ditch. Like, oh, we're stuck in the ditch again. So here we go.
Right.
Yeah, of course, directed by Jonathan Kaplan. Who's done some interesting flicks. I'm sure we'll talk about some of his other work.
Yeah,
there's definitely a couple I definitely dig that we'll talk about. So
yeah, that's cool. Good call.
Over the Edge next week. I'm very excited.
And then the next week's gonna be Over the Hedge, I think, right?
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll keep this theme
over
rolling.
Movies now.
Yeah, over.
I'm kind of bummed we're not doing it.
Rainbow for Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
I'm bummed that we're not doing I'm bummed that we're not doing a movie with the word 2 in the title. For the next one, and just go in order.
Caddyshack 2?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Caddyshack 2. Done. All right, let's change the.
I do that.
That'd be a fun run at some point. Maybe we should try.
Let's do Caddyshack 2 sometime.
We're talking about these top 10s that everybody seems to love. Maybe we'll do worst twos.
Worst twos.
Or terrible twos. Terrible twos.
Terrible twos.
Yeah.
That's funny. I
can't wait.
I like terrible twos.
The Sting 2. There's a sequel to The Sting.
Yes.
Oh my God. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up. Very excited to get back on track here. Wrap this up. 1 fucking hour on Cuckoos.
Let's wrap it up. Let's put the fish hook through the eyeball and finish this episode, right?
Sniff that shit and stick it back in. All right. All right. We are going to be doing 1 fucking hour on Over the Edge. Get your pre-watch in. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. And tell your friends. We're starting to pick up some of that more steam. So definitely spread the good word. And peep, peep.
And don't forget to spay and neuter your pets.
Yes, and do that as well too. All right, everybody. We can't let you go, of course. And I'm very excited to what this is going to be. We can't leave you without your moment of Zen. All right, everybody. Thank you and good night. Have a great rest of your week. Goodbye.
Later.
Ma'am?
Sit down, Mr. McMurphy.
That man,
Sit down. Will you please sit down, Mr. McMurphy?
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.